Hi, this is Pat. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk about this old quilt I'm repairing. This was made probably in the early 50s by my great-grandmother, and it is scraps. It's a trip around the world pattern based on things my mother has said. This is the only pattern my grandmother ever used. You can see it's in pretty bad shape. It's got a lot of dirt, but I can't wash it because it's falling apart. So I'm trying to repair parts of it. Excuse me. My sister and I discussed what we wanted to do with this. We're the guardians of it at this moment, and we want to repair it and get, well, so I'm going to replace a lot of this fabric. We want it to the point where maybe we won't sleep under it, but we'd like to display it and be able to handle it. I know there's a lot of controversy about that. Some people would say, no, don't do that, just conserve what's there. There's a lot of different opinions. So this is my opinion on my quilt. I'm not worried about the dollar value. That's not what's top in my mind. If you want a good book, sorry about the glare on this, Anne Wasserman wrote Preserving Our Quilt Legacy, Giving Antique Quilts the Special Care They Deserve. There's a better, you can see the title. You can order this from her website. I'll try to remember to put a link in the comments. And Anne Wasserman has been doing quilt repair for many years. She is well known. This was, the second printing was in 2016. First printing was in 2013. She's well known in the quilt repair and conservation world. So her book, she talks about the difference between restoration and conservation. Her suggestions about looking at historical value, how you value the quilt, don't do anything that can't be undone. So you can see some of the things she talks here. How to conserve, which is just keep it so it doesn't disintegrate anymore, or how to restore or repair. And she gives a lot of good examples. Here you can see her diagrams. It's 98 pages, including the index. She also has a large bibliography here. She talks about how to, and a lot of links, how to store quilts, how to display them, how to clean them, and how to keep records. That's important. So I highly recommend this book if you have some old quilts you want to repair. So this one is bed size, and this is cotton batting in the center. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, my family, most of my family, half my family, is from Georgia. So this was cotton that was grown in Georgia. And my great-grandmother had cotton cards and would card the cotton. They sometimes grew and picked cotton. So I don't know if she bought this. She definitely wouldn't have went to someplace like a big box store, because they weren't around like that back then. And it was a small town. So, and the backing is feed sack. There's another part of it, I can't show it without unfolding the whole thing, that shows a picture of a pig, of a hog. It was hog feed sack. So as you can see, let me make sure you're seeing. Yes, so right here you can see this is coming apart. This particular fabric is a very coarse weave, and almost all the pieces of it are coming apart. That one's actually pretty good. It's hard. I can't just sew this back together because it just keeps disintegrating. And this over here is disintegrating. So what I did is I went through this whole quilt and I looked at all the squares and counted which ones, looked at the ones, okay, these are in good shape. They're dirty, but they're in good shape. This one's in pretty, it's wearing a little thin, but some of them are in good shape and some of them aren't. So I made me a list for the ones that were in, that I knew I needed to repair. I removed making sure you can still see, I removed a square and I attached it to a piece of paper. And I made myself a little pamphlet here, a little booklet. These are the original fabrics. And then I went shopping. I've been to a couple of quilt stores last year looking for fabric. This one, you can see I chose this fabric, but here I tea dyed it. So it's not this bright white. I want it to blend in. And I know there's some controversy to some people about tea dyeing, but again, it's my choice. It's my quilt. This is what I'm choosing to do. This has been tea dyed. Then I may use this to replace that. And I also wrote how many squares I need to replace for each one. These, you can see I don't have a replacement yet. I need to go to some more quilt stores. Here's one. I chose this fabric. I tea dyed it to this. This is another one. But yeah, I have some here. I can barely even tell what the fabric looked like. This was actually, it's hard to see on this little piece of fabric, but it had little purple flowers on it. Some more. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this to repair that one or not. And there are parts of this quilt that Grandma herself didn't use the same fabric. This is the same round, but that's two different pinks. And there's some other places like that where she ran out of one color, she just picked up another similar colorway. There's some red and white checked where she ran out of one, she used another, or she ran out of a checked and she used a red with a white polka dot on it. So that's what I'm doing here. Let me see. So today got some of my pieces. Let me grab them over here. So here are some of the pieces that this, like I said, needs to be replaced. So I'm going to applique these on top of it. And that's the green. Thought I had another green, but I'm going to use that green. And this pink, again, let me go back here to my, okay, I was going to use that pink to replace these. I've got some other, some of this is going to need to be replaced, but I don't know what I'm going to use there yet. And I may just put a little patch over that one, I'm not sure. But this definitely needs to go here. And so what I do is I take some small applique pens. If you don't have applique pens, I highly suggest getting some. They are well worth it. They can be a little pricey, but they are great because they're sharp, they're small. I don't remember what brand these are, but they're sharp and they're small and they have a tiny head so they don't get in the way when you're appliquing. So I'm just kind of centering this by eye and pinning it in place. Make sure I get down in there and get some of the batting so it stays where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to do this all the way around. I don't have my scissors handy. To trim off those edges, but that should be okay. And you just kind of have to, it might not be precise because Grandma's sewing, she hand pieced this and hand quilted it, but squares may not always be square, so cut the squares a little larger than what you think they might need to be. You can always trim them down later or tuck under the extra. And then I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around, which is hard to do when I'm not going to try to move the whole quilt. It's hard to do under the camera, but you get the point here. That then I do that, trying to make the corners look as neat as I possibly can. And yeah, that one's not looking neat. Just finger press it. If it bothers you, if you want, you can always starch and iron press it to make sure it's nice and flat. Just pin it as much as makes you happy. And then you just slip stitch it. You just do like an applique stitch around. For thread, I'm using this Aurifil. It's I forget what weight it is. I thought it said a 50. It's a 50 weight thread, so it's pretty thin. It's Aurifil. I think the color is called Dove Gray, 2600. It will blend in well. I find gray blends in well. If you have a darker fabric, you might want to use a dark gray thread. Another good thread to use is if you can get silk thread. It can be pricey, but it tends to sink into the cotton very well and does a good job with applique. I've used it before on applique, but this is a cotton. This is made in Italy, 100% cotton. And you may think, well, Aurifil is so expensive, but if you compare the price of how much you get on this spool compared to Coats & Clark, this is actually cheaper than Coats & Clark. And it's about the same price or cheaper than Gutterman. They're all that, and Aurifil has a lot less lint and just blends in so smoothly. So I'm gonna, and I would do the same with this fabric. I probably should iron that to get that crease out of it. Again, these were tea dyed, so I'm gonna need to go through here and replace that one and this one. This one, yeah, it's a problem, but yeah. And I'm gonna do that for the whole quilt. And later I'll make a video of replacing some of these. Some of these, if you look at this, where I need to replace this square and this square, that this is what's replacing this. Instead of trying to sew this one onto this that is rotting away, what I plan to do is when I get this isn't the right color, but when I get the right color to replace that, I'll take these two, put them together, hand piece it, hand stitch there, and then applique it down. I think that'll work a lot better than trying to applique, like I said, onto fabric that's disintegrating and then coming back and trying to applique onto this that's not really attached to much. So that's what my plan is. There's a lot of squares on here that I've got to replace. This is going to take a long time. These fabrics are in pretty good shape. Once I'm able to get most of this secured so I don't have these spots like this happening, then I can wash it very gently. The last quilt I washed, older quilt I washed it outside in a baby pool, a kiddie wading pool. And I am lucky I have a big wooden deck. So I washed it out there and then gently during the summer. And then I flopped it out onto the deck on top of some just old sheets, cotton sheets and towels, so that it wouldn't pick up any dirt from the wood, from the stain and other dirt that's on the deck. And so I'll do the same with this one. It'll be some time because I'm recording this in January and I'm in the southeast of the US, but we're sitting here looking out the window wondering when it's going to snow, because it's January 31st and there is snow throughout the south, in the deep south, so that should be fun. It hasn't arrived to my location yet. But yeah, I need it to be warm enough outside that the water is somewhat warm and I can let it dry out. So that'll be April or May at the soonest. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you have any suggestions, if you have any tips where you've done something like this before, I would greatly appreciate any tips or any comments. Please give me a thumbs up if you like what you see. Please subscribe, and I will see you later. Thanks.